May it please the court, my lady. Morning.
May it please the court, my lady.
Good morning, my lady.
Good morning, lady.
Morning, my lady.
I don't see the interpreter. I don't see the witness. Nelisiwa, you may call them, place the matter on record.
Oh, the screen up.
Thank you, Judge. Today is the 17th of May, 2022. Calling the matter of Life Esidimeni Inquest, case number I-001 of 2021. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Good morning, Mrs. Mokgosinyane.
Madam Mokgosinyane.
You are reminded that you are still under oath.
Once le tlase ga kana Mama Mokgosinyane ya go bua nnete a kere. Mama Mokgosinyane. Confirm, my lady.
You may then proceed, Mr. Profi.
Good morning, ma'am. It's Mr. Profi. This morning we'll just be concluding the evidence that you were busy giving yesterday.
Mama Mokgosinyane, ka tshego Mr. Profi a rotla ba feleletsa ka bopaki ba gago ba mabana kere. Yes.
So we were busy in respect of Mr. Hartman being deceased 94.
Busy ka Mr. Hartman.
To conclude that evidence, you had answered that he required his privacy. I just needed the answer to generally, did he not like to be touched? A yes or a no?
Ya no ra gopola maabane o ile wa bua gore Mr. Hartman e ne le motho ratang privacy ya gagwe. Ya no go tse latelang go gore a mmeka in general fela ke motho na sa rate go tshwara na. Yeah.
Him not wanting to be touched made attending to his sores difficult, correct?
Ya no seo sa gore a sa rate go tshwariwa ne setsa gore go be bokete go mo thusa ka diso tse ne di tlhagile mo gene. Yes.
That's all good then. Continue.
It would also have made grooming him difficult. Would you agree?
No. Me go ya le gore le seo sa go sa batla go tshwariwa ga gagwe ne go ka etsa go be bothata go etsa tlhokomelo ya gagwe ya hygiene ya ka go mo kuta manala dilo tse di yalo.
Ene mo go kuteng manala ne re mo fa gore a ikute ka gore na itse go ikuta mara gone ne go nna thata le go rona re mo tshware re mo kute manala.
Yes, but when it comes to cutting his nails, we would give him something to cut his nails because he was able to do so. However, that also, he's not wanting to be touched, made it difficult for us to cut his nails.
Continue.
His cause of death was bronchopneumonia, which is a natural cause of death. You'd agree?
Yeah, no, but the cause of death is bronchopneumonia, a natural cause of death. Do you mean this one so? Yes.
So there is nothing any facility can do to prevent a natural cause of death. You'd agree?
Go ya lo ge gore a gona facility e ka irang sepe go mo leng gore leso le bona gore ke natural cause of death. Yes.
If one considers his admission date to date of death, it's just over 3 months. Would you consider that a short time frame to care for a patient?
Yaanong a re ga o lebela nako ya gagwe ya go tsena kwa le nako ya gagwe ya go tlhokafala e re 3 months. Yaanong o ka re nako eo e ne le nakonyana e khutshwane ya go ka tlhokomela patient. Yes.
That's all, is it? Continue.
Moving on to deceased 112, Frederick Collins. When you had testified, you said that he died. Just before he died, he couldn't breathe. Do you recall that?
A gopela gore Collins yena o no rile pele ga gore a tlhokafale o na palelwa ke go hema. Yes.
Could his heavy tobacco use have played a role in his inability to breathe?
Yaanong a mme go suba ga gagwe gagolo ke gone go ileng go a etsa gore a be le bothata gongwe le bone go ile go okeletsa mo bothateng ba gagwe ba go sokola go hema.
O ile go a okeletsa.
It also aided.
Then in respect of... Sorry, Malay, can I just get confirmation if the witness wants to add anything?
Yes, she wanted to add something. You may proceed, ma'am.
Mrs. Mogosinyane, no sampano bua.
Ke re go ne go o ile go a okeletsa ka gore le ga ba mo etetse na gore ne ba mo tlisetsa carton ya cigarette.
Yes, smoking aided as well because even when he'd have visitors, they'd bring for him a carton of cigarettes.
Continue.
Now, what illnesses did he have that required him to go to the hospital or clinic?
Yaanong ke malwetse mafe a ne a na le one a ne a ira gore a tlhoke go ya ko sepetlele kgotsa ko clinic.
A re mo admita o tlile a na le diso mo maotong.
When we admitted him, he came having sores on his feet.
So, okay.
Ka Auguste re be re bona borukhu ba gagwe bo le metsi re sa itse
In August month, we saw that his pants were wet and we did not know what was happening.
a re checka ra kry le gore o na le abscess mo maragong.
When we checked, we found that he had an abscess on his buttocks. Or in his buttocks.
Gone gore re ne ra mo tsaya ra mo isa tleliniki ya mo romela ko sepetlele.
It is then that we took him to the clinic and the clinic referred him to hospital.
Ke yone fela malwetse ana le one a refere a ka ona re ileng ra a ye tleliniking or a ye sepetlele.
Those are the only ailments that he had that made us take him to the clinic or to the hospital.
Could that sickness have contributed to his death?
Yaanong a mme bolwetse bo ka be bo contributile kapa bile ba tlhola le bone leso la gagwe.
Do you know?
A mme wa itse Mama Mogosinyane kgotsa?
Ga ke itse.
I do not know.
Then I move on to Daniel Milan, the cause of death was due to blunt force injuries sustained from a fight that he had started. You recall the evidence you gave in that regard?
Bar wa gopola ka Daniel Milan, bar mo go ena, e se tlholeng loso la gagwe ke blunt force injury a ikreileng mo ntweng e ne e batile ke ena. Wa gopola o paka yalo?
Ee, ke a gopola.
Yes, I remember.
The staff tried to intervene and calm the situation, but Daniel was too violent. Is that correct?
Wa re staff o se le sa tsenela se re sa tseregana me Daniel tota ona a le violent thata.
Ee,
Yes.
There was nothing more the staff could do.
Ga go sena sepe se sengwe gape se e leng gore staff ne se ka se dira.
staffo se editse go bitswa mapodisa.
The staff, what they caused or what they made happen is that they let police be called.
Now, the patient that he had tried to hit with the chair, who hit him with another chair, was David Mabatu, correct?
Yes.
David Mabati.
Mabati.
Can we turn to page 7187?
Pariako page 7187.
Please just let me know.
Page 7817. Obue, House of Fitiloko, page 7817. Mama Kasinyani.
7187. Which is the correct page, Mr.
7187, my lady.
I don't think the interpreter captured that.
It is
7187.
7187. Ofitile Mama Kasinyani.
Just bear with us.
Ee,
Just a second for the code, please. You may proceed.
This is the periodic report for Mr. David Mabati. If we may please scroll down to the bottom of the page.
Bare emo pele ga gago ke periodical report ya ga David Mabati.
I'm going to read out the heading before admission. Refused to communicate with anyone, aggressive physically and objectively hallucinating. He has a history, alcohol abuse, and multiple admissions to Sterkfontein, according to document, brackets 2608, close brackets. May we please scroll to the next page? I'm going to read under the heading, since admission, his behavior is unpredictable because he is constantly hallucinating and either laughs inappropriately or becomes verbally aggressive to people who are near him. He is thought disordered to the point of incoherence, has delusions of reference. I'm then going to continue under the heading present mental status. He is thought disordered. I cannot read the next word.
It is tangential, my lady.
Yes, I can see that. Thank you, Mr. Van Bergen.
I'm indebted to Mr. Van Bergen. And incoherent. He denies that he is mentally ill, has delusions of reference, has auditory hallucinations, and cannot account for himself. Still verbally aggressive. He loiters aimlessly. Now, if one has regard to what I just read out in the periodic report, you would agree with me that Mr. Mpati has a history of aggression.
Ya no ka se se badileng mo periodic report mme o tla dumelana le yone ge gore patient eo Mr. Mabati e ne le motho na le history ya go ba aggressive.
ee,
Yes.
Is it appropriate to send such a user to be transferred to an NGO?
Yaanong a mme go tshwanetse kapa ke ntho e tshwanegileng e siameng gore motho o leng patient e yalo a isiwe ko lefelong la NGO? No.
Let's hold it there. Continue.
And we then turn to page 14738.
Yeah, for page 14738.
May I continue, my lady?
Yes, you may.
This is the death report by Mosego Home. Do you know who wrote this report?
Mme wa itse gore ke mang o ngwetseng death report e ya kwa Mosego Home?
The death report tse di ne di kwalwa ke nna a ke sa gopola gore e.
Some of the death reports were written by me. I do not remember well if this was me.
So, thank you. Whoever's controlling the screen is on the point. I wish my next point. Are we reading under the heading admission report? Admitted from Randfontein Care Center, he was unpredictable and hallucinating, laughed to himself and behaving inappropriately. He was verbally aggressive to people near him at intervals. He displayed thoughts disorder and had ideas of reference. He lacked insight and denied mental illness. So you would agree with me that the same behavior in the periodic report is reflected here in respect of his unpredictable and aggressive behavior.
Yeah, no, mme wa dumela ge gore se sengwe mo admission report since se tshwana le se le se mo periodical report ya gage se leng se bontsha gore e ne le motho o leng gore o ba unpredictable le o bontsha go ba aggressive Mr. Mabati. Yes.
Can we then scroll down to the bottom of the page, please? Thank you. The bulk of this was your evidence already, so I'm not going to belabor the point. I only wish to read from under the date 04/01/2017, from the second line being, he was found to have active TB. We were ordered to place him in isolation, referred him to Yusuf Dadoo Hospital on 6 January 2017. His condition was deteriorating rapidly, and he passed on at 8H445 at Dr. Yusuf Dadoo Hospital. The family was notified. Based on that evidence, is there anything additional that the staff at Mosego Home could have done to prevent his death?
Yeah, no, kontle ga bopaki ba botswileng bo bo badileng mona mo reporting e. Mme no go na le se sengwe gape se se ka dirwang ke Mosego Home kontle ga setse se diregetse kapa se dirilwe.
Ga se yo se sense se ne staff se ka se etsa ene ga ne le motho o ratang go tsuba thata.
There was nothing else that the staff could have done. He is a person who loved smoking a lot.
Continue.
My final point relates to your relationship with Life Esidimeni. So perhaps if you'd like to translate that before I continue.
Yeah, no. A report ya bofelo kapa sa batlang go se bolena sa bofelo ke kamano kapa relationship ya gago le Life Esidimeni.
During your time working at, sorry, my lady, there is an objection.
Yes, Ms. Hassim.
Sorry, my lady, I had my hand up, but I don't think you noticed, so I'm sorry for cutting in for my learned friend. I just wanted to point out that the previous document that my learned friend referred to was a death report. but
Yes.
the actual admission report for Mosego relating to Mr. Mabati is at page 14674.
Yes.
And at page 14675 is the description of psychiatric or behavioral problems. And it has a different opinion there. It says no abnormal behavior observed.
Thank you.
Lady.
Mr. Profi, if you can just lower your hand, thank you. I'm waiting to hear from you, Mr. Profi.
My lady, I'm not sure what the objection is for me to address.
I don't think, Mr. Hasim, I don't think this is an objection. In fact, she was trying to alert the court that if one looks at these pages, right, there is nothing that was said about the abnormality of the situation. Am I correct, Ms. Hasim?
That's right, my lady. I'm just pointing out for the court that on the record.
He has made a statement to the witness, and the witness has already answered. So she's trying to highlight that on this page, which is an admission report at Mosego.
Perhaps
Right? The statement that you had put to the witness could not be correct. So if you can just look there, so that a proper evidence or what the correct evidence can be put to the witness.
I'll address the witness then, if I may, my lady.
Yes, you may.
Ma'am.
Have you noted the page? It's 14674 and 14675.
Thank you. The paragraph I'm going to read now relates to the admission of Daniel Milan. Note, apologies, I'm wrong. David Mabati, the witness we had just previously discussed.
You are now on which page, Mr. Profi?
14674.
Okay.
Ma'am, on this page reflects the admission assessment done by Mosego Home of Mr. David Mabati. Can you see that?
Okay. Remove page 14674. Pare eo ke se sengwetseng mo admission assessment ya ga David Mabati ga na tsena ko Mosego Home. Yes.
If we page down to page I just need the page number, thank you, 14675.
Yeah, no, how we are for page 14675.
Yes, continue.
Under the heading Psychiatric Behavioral Problems, no abnormal behavior observed.
More psychiatric behavioral problems. No abnormal behavior observed.
At the time of admitting the user, were you in a position to fully assess his behavior? His behavioral problems?
Kana ko e gana tsena le mo amogela ko Mosego a mme go na le nako ile ba teng nako e lekaneng ya go mo assessa ka tsela e lekaneng behavior ya gagwe.
My lady, there's an objection before the before,
behavioral problems tsa gagwe ka nako eo
Okay.
a admitiwe.
Just before you answer, ma'am, just a second, Mr. Ihlela. Continue, Mr. Pihlela.
As court pleases, my lady, apologies for the interruption. What I just wanted to find out is, because I see a question being put to this witness with reference to this report. I just want to find out if she's the author of the report or was she in any way involved in the compilation of this report. Or maybe she knows the author of the report, I don't know. But to me, that seems pertinent.
Mr. Profi.
I have no issue with taking that up with the witness, my lady, before she answers the question.
Come again?
I have no difficulty putting that to the witness.
Okay.
Ma'am, apologies for the interruption in the question. Before you answer that question, did you complete this assessment for Mr. Mabati?
Mama go senyane a mme o ile ke wena o taditseng assessment e ya ga Mr. Mabati?
Writing has here.
It is not my handwriting.
Were you present when the assessment was completed?
A mme wena o no le teng ga ne e etsiwa assessment? No.
So then you wouldn't know about the content in this admission report?
Ya no ga o itse sepe wena ka se ngwetseng mo admission report eo.
Admission report ha di fetswa go kwala re etsa file ya patient ra boeletsa re bona re di bala gape.
When the admission report has been completed, we take the file of the patient and then we read it again.
The question is, you wouldn't know about what has been written on this report. Do you know or you don't know?
Ya no, potso ke gore wena ga o itse ka se ka wa itse gore go ngwetswe eng mo reporting e. A mme wa itse kgotsa ga o itse me mo go senyane?
I itse gore go kwetsweng.
I do not know what is written in there.
Yes, continue.
Melody, then I'd like to continue with my last point. Thank you. Ma'am, my last point relates to your relationship with Life Esidimeni. During your time working at Mosego Home from 2012, the users admitted were predominantly from Life Esidimeni facilities, correct?
Ya no, go tla ga ka nako ya gago ya go bereka ko Mosego Home ka 2012. The patient kapa batho ba ne ba amogelwa kwa Mosego Home, bontsi ba bone ke ne le gore ba tswa ko Life Esidimeni. A mme go yalo?
Ne ke botsa ke re potso e botswe gape.
Can you please repeat the question again?
During your time working at Mosego Home, most of the patients admitted predominantly came from Life Esidimeni facilities.
Ya no, ka nako ele e wena o e berekileng ko Mosego Home. Baberekisi ba Mosego Home se ba ne ba amogelwa ka nako eo. Bontsi ba bone ke ne le gore ke ba ba tswang ko Life Esidimeni. A mme go yalo? Yes.
So there was a long relationship between Mosego Home and Life Esidimeni.
Ya no, seo se ra gore go ne go na le relationship e telele mo gare ga Mosego Homes le Life Esidimeni. Yes.
Did you ever receive a complaint from any Life Esidimeni staff in respect of how Mosego Home was treating the users from Life Esidimeni?
Yaanong a mme wena o kile wa amogela complain e tswang ko staff sa Life Esidimeni e le gore ba ngongorega ka mokgwa staff tsa ko Mosego Homes se tshotseng batho ba ba tswang ko Life Esidimeni ka yone? No.
Now, before the marathon, and to ensure the stability of the users, the same procedure was always followed between Life Esidimeni and Mosego Home.
Yaanong before marathon project, go ne go berekiswa procedure e tshwanang go ntsha batho ba ba tswang kapa go amogela batho go tswa kwa Life Esidimeni ba tsena ko Mosego Homes. Yeah.
This process was only changed during the marathon project, correct?
Yaanong tsamaiso eo kapa process eo e ile ya change-wa fela ka nako ele ya marathon project. A mme go yalo? Yes.
My lady, may I just go off screen to check my notes and to take an instruction if that's included? Thank you. Thank you, my lady. That concludes my cross-examination of the witness.
Thank you very much. I received a message yesterday that Mr. Boko and Mr. Makani do not have cross-examination or questions in cross-examination of the witness. This will then pave the way for, is it Mr. Pichela?
Thank you, my lady. My lady, I just want to point out that there was, I think, about two or three people who reserved their right to cross-examine, and I'm only going to clarify a few aspects. There are no new aspects that I intend to bring because a lot of it's been covered with this witness. Now, I think they should take that opportunity now so that we don't have a back and forth in that regard. Because I understand that as this is my client, I should be the last one just to afford clarity, or if there's none, then to state as such.
I don't think they've indicated so far. Mr. Van Bergen, is it Mr. Van Bergen, Mr. Pichela, Mr. Van Bergen, Mr. Pinar, and I think Mr. Peterson, if I may. Can I just find out if you still have questions?
Yes, my lady, arising from specifically Mr. Profe's questioning, there are a number of issues that I would like to clarify with this witness.
Okay, now I'll give you the opportunity. Can I check with Mr. Pinar?
As your ladyship pleases.
Mr. Pinar?
May it please the court, my lady. I'm indebted to your ladyship. At this stage, we have no questions. I have no questions for this witness. Thank you, my lady.
Thank you. The other person was Mr. Peterson on behalf of, I think, yes, of the former MEC. You are muted, Mr. Wooders. Something is wrong, Mr. Wooders. Can you hear him? I can't hear him.
Lady, we have no question.
Something is still, I don't think you're audible enough.
muted. There's a problem with connection. I'll
Yeah,
ask my-
come again.
We have no questions.
Yeah, you are still not audible, but if you can try again.
We have no questions, my lady.
Thank you very much. Mr. van Bergen, you may proceed.
Thank you, my lady. Good morning, Mrs. Mokosinyana.
Mina Mama Khosinyane. Mama Khosinyana,
Okay.
Dumela.
Ahe,
Mrs. Mokosinyana, my name is Harry van Bergen. I'm the advocate appearing for Life Esidimeni in these proceedings.
Ke advocate van Bergen o emetse Life Esidimeni mo tsamaisong e ya paki.
My lady, just by way of background, as I indicated, my questioning will relate specifically to issues raised by Mr. Profi relating inter alia to the adequacy of records provided by Life Esidimeni and the alleged impact that had on management of patients. I will obviously ask questions leading up to those issues before I get to those issues themselves, if I may proceed.
Continue.
Thank you, my lady. Mrs. Mokosinyana, you testified that you are a professional nurse, is that correct?
Hello, Mama Khosinyane, gore we are a professional nurse.
eh,
Yes.
And as such, I assume you were at all relevant times registered with the South African Nursing Council as a professional nurse.
Ame go yalo ge gore ka nako tsotlhe o ne o ntse o registerile ko South African Nursing Council yaka professional nurse.
eh,
Yes.
As a registered nurse, you will be conversant with the rules of the South African Nursing Council pertaining to the scope of practice of registered nurses. Is that correct?
Yaka professional nurse e registered wa itse ge melao ya South African Council of Nurses mabapi le melao ya di nurse tse di leng registered. Ame go yalo?
go ya.
Yes.
You would agree with me that amongst those rules are the requirement that proper records should be kept of patients at all times.
Mme wa dumela ge gore o mongwe molao ke gore go tshwanetse ka nako tsotlhe go be le di-records tse di proper, tse di siameng, tse di ka tsa di-patients.
Eh,
Yes.
And that there is an obligation on nurses to, when appropriate, advocate for patients.
Le gore go ate ha go le appropriate kapa go tshwanetse ke maikarabelo a di-nurse gore di advocate for the patients.
eh,
Yes.
And just for record purposes, advocating for a patient means that if a nurse is at any time of the opinion that there are circumstances or events that place a patient's well-being at risk, to raise that with the nurse's superiors. Would you agree with that?
Go advocate la patient seo se ra gore ga o le nurse ga o iphumana e le gore ko matlase ga maemong a rileng o bo o bona gore maemo a rileng a ama patient ka tsela e sa siamang ke maikarabelo a nurse eo go se reporta seo ko manese a godimo. Ame go yalo? Yes.
eh, go
Sorry, the answer is yes.
Yes.
And that would also have applied to you during the course of your employment at Mosego Home, namely that if you were concerned that any person or any party was doing something which caused or potentially caused risk to a patient, you were under an obligation to have raised that with your superiors.
Yaanong seo le wena molao o le wena o go amile ka tsela ya gore le wena ko no le teng ha no o bona go na le sengwe se o bonang gore se ka etsa se bona kapa se tsa risk mo patienteng o no tshwanetse gore seo o se reporte ko matoneng a gago kapa di superior tsa gago.
Mrs. Mokgosinyana, you testified that your line of reporting was not to Mrs. Mokgojwa, but to your superior at Musego itself. Do you remember that evidence?
Wa gopola ge gore o ile wa re wena line ya gago ya reporting e ne se go reporta ko Mogojwa mara e ne le go reporta ko senior ya gago ko Musego. Yes.
Who was that superior that you reported to?
Yaanong ke mang superior o no reporta ko go yona?
Managed facility manager ka nako eo ne le Mr. Sikhosana.
Facility manager at the time was Mr. Sikhosana.
Thank you. Now, turning to your evidence pertaining to your experience at the Life Esidimeni facility at Randfontein, would you agree with me that Randfontein, amongst other mental health care users, also had a large component of elderly mental health care users?
Yaanong mabapi le experience ya gago ge ko Life Esidimeni a mme o tla dumela ge gore Life Esidimeni ko Randfontein e na le component e tona ya batho ba bagolo ba di-patients tse di tonna tse ne di tlhoka le mental health kapa tse ne di fumana mental health. Yes.
That it had a number of mental health care users who were frail?
Yaanong gore e na le sebalo sa batho ba ileng gore ke di-patients tse di mental health care users tse ne le gore nna setse ba le fraile kapa ba sa itekanela sentle. Yes.
And that there were of those users who, in addition to their mental health condition, also had physical comorbidities.
Yaanong ebile gape bone bao ba ne ba na le di-mental health care makoa ao mo godimo ga mao na ba na le gape go sa tsoge sentle physically ebile ba na le di-comorbidities. Yes.
And you were aware of that not only at the time that you worked at Life Esidimeni Randfontein, but also after you went and obtained employment at Musego Home.
Yaanong o no sitse seo e seng ka nako fela ga o no bereka ko Life Esidimeni mme le ka morago ga gore o tsamaye wa go bereka ko Musego Home. Yes.
Thank you.
Second, Mr. van Bergen.
As your ladyship pleases.
Continue.
Thank you, my lady. Mrs. Mokgosinyana, I'm going to, my next questions, if you don't know the answers, then please just indicate that.
Yaanong mo dipotsong tse latelang ma Mokgosinyane a re advocate ga o sa itse karabo o bue fela yalo gore ga o itse karabo.
As regards documentation that must be provided on the discharge of a user from one facility to another, the Mental Health Care Act and the National Health Act provide that a discharge report must be provided. Are you aware of that, and were you aware at the time of the marathon?
Yaanong potsa ke gore a mme no itse ka nako eo ya marathon gore mabapi le di-document tse e leng gore user kapa moberekisi wa lefelo wa ntshiwa kwa lefelong le lengwe a isiwa kwa le lengwe go tshwanetse ge gore go etsiwe di-documents tseo tsa gage kapa di ngwadiwe seo ke se se beilweng ka go ya ga Mental Health Care Act le Health Care Act. Potso ke gore o no se itse seo nako eo ya Project Marathon.
Ne ke se itse mara a ra fiwa di-documents ka nako e re ba tsayang.
Yes, I knew that.
Yone document eo ya discharge ga ra e fiwa ka nako e re ba tsayang ko life Esidimeni.
Yes, I knew that, but we were not given that discharge document when we took them from life Esidimeni.
Okay, so did they? Yes.
Re kreile morago.
We got it afterwards.
Yes, your evidence, I believe it was during your evidence in chief, Mrs. Mokgosinyana, was that you collected the patients, and I'm referring now, and I am assuming that you are also referring that this was during the marathon project, that you collected the patients and you were told to come and collect the documentation the next day, which you then did. Do you recall that?
Me go yalo ge gore mo bopaking ba gago o ile wa re o ile wa di collecta di patients ke ne le nako ile ya Project Marathon e be le gore ga o collecta di patients yalo o boleliwa ge gore di documents o tla o di kry-a kapa o di lata tsatsi le latelang. Yes.
So you did receive the necessary documentation on your evidence, inclusive of the discharge report.
Yeah, no, we ile wa di fumana di documents go ya ka bopaki ba gago le yone kapa le tsone di discharge reports.
The documents discharge report tse ding ne di sa fela di documents tse ding.
Some of the documents were not complete, the discharge reports. Yeah.
Discharge report ne le teng tse ding di documents like bo periodically tse ding ne di seo mo teng mo ne re sa fiwa le gore patient gore di notes tsa physical examination le ga ba editswe pampiri ya teng ne re sa e fiwa.
Okay, the discharge documents were there, but some documents that were not complete, that were not there, were the periodical reports, the notes of the physical examination that were done, if they were done.
Can we understand this evidence? This is very crucial. Mrs. Mokgosinyane, you say some of the documents were not complete. If I may understand your evidence.
Mamo Mokgosinyane, Chacha Arwar saying the documents ne di sa felela.
Ne di sa felela.
And then you further say, okay, interpret, Mrs. Interpreter.
Yes, they were not complete.
You say the discharge report was there.
What discharge reports? So on the day. Yes.
Then you say you further testify that the periodical report was not complete.
Yeah,
and then you started talking about the notes of the physical examination. What about them? If you can clarify us about that.
Yeah, no, really, the periodical report, ne di sa felela. Yaanong o bo bua ka di-physical notes. That is the notes tsa physical examination. Judge a re a ko boeletsa o tlhalosa gore o no o reng ka di-physical examination notes.
And the periodical report.
Le tsone gape di-periodical reports.
The periodical report, ba bang ne ba na le tsone, ba bang ne ba sena tsone, ba ne ba na le tsone, e ne tla nna gore ke tsa nako tsa kgale.
Regarding the periodical reports, some had the periodical reports, some did not have them. And with those that had them, one would find that they were old.
Ka physical report, hara sepe ka physical report ya di patient.
We did not get anything about the physical reports of the patients.
Thank you. Let's take it from there, Mr. van Bergen.
Thank you, my lady. Mrs. Makhosenyana. I'll address those issues that you have now raised, but getting back to my original question, all that the Mental Health Care Act and the National Health Act require on discharge of a patient is a discharge report. You will agree with that?
Mme o dumelana le ena ha re se se batlang fela ke Mental Health Care Act le Health Care Act ka discharge ya patient ke discharge report fela.
Ke discharge report.
Yes, it is a discharge report.
Yes. Thank you. The lady will bear with me. Mrs. Makhosenyana, I just want to make sure that I got this correct during your evidence. You referred to a Salome from the Department of Health at Randfontein Clinic, who you said took over the patient files and medication. Do you recall that evidence?
Kgotla gopola o bua ka Salome wa Randfontein Clinic o ileng a take over the files tsa di patient the medication wa se gopola seo?
A ke se gopole Salome ko kae?
No, I do not remember that. Salome, from where?
Okay, I think I may have made an incorrect note. I just wanted to clarify that. If we can then go to the patients involved, in the light of your evidence regarding the periodical report and the physical examination report, I wish to start with Mr. Gerhardus Meyer. My lady, he is docket number 83. And I would request you, Mrs. Makhosenyana, to first turn to page 14325.
Mama Makhosenyana, ba re eya ko page 14325. Advocate Ariano o tla ya ko go Gerhardus Meyer o ye ko page 14325.
Do you have the page, Mrs. Makhosenyana?
O setse o fitlhile ko page 14325, Mama Makhosenyana. Yes.
That is the prescription that was provided by Life Esidimeni in respect of Mr. Meyer. Do you agree?
Kati ki prescription e filweng ke Life Esidimeni if you are a Gert Meyer. Amiwa Dumela.
In respect of,
I beg your ladyship's pardon?
no, I'm trying to assist the interpreter. Prescription provided by Life Esidimeni in respect of this particular patient, Mr. Meyer.
Meyer. Kati ki prescription e filweng ke Life Esidimeni if you are a patient in a Gert Meyer. Yes.
Now, perhaps just to get the chronology correct, would you please turn to page 14337?
Para Iago 14337.
And just tell me when you are at that page, Mrs. Mokgosinyana.
Setsi o fitlhile Mama Kgosinyane ko page 14337.
Ke fitlhile moyo.
Yes, I am at page 14337.
Thank you, Mrs. Mokgosinyana. This is a form MHCA 27, the leave of absence form. Do you agree?
Wa dumela ge gore ke leave of absence form eo e bitswang MHA-CA 27. Yes.
And according to this form, if you page down or if you just scroll down a bit, the date of commencement of leave was 20 October 2015 and the day of return from leave was 16 November 2015. Do you agree?
Wa dumela ge gore date ya go simolola ga leaving was mo the date commencement leave ke 20 October 2015 e be return from leave 16 November 2015. Ami wa dumela? Yes.
Ke a dumela.
Yes, I agree.
And the address where the patient would be whilst on leave of absence in the middle of the page is 115/116 Okkersche Street, Krugersdorp. Is that the address of Mosego home?
Yeah, no, address e bona lang mole e tla belong gore patient e tla belong ko yone ka nako ya leave. Ke number 115/116 Okkersche Street, Krugersdorp. Ami eo ke yone address ya Mosego home. Yes.
So this indicates that this patient was first sent on a leave of absence to Mosego home. Do you agree?
Ya no ame wa dumela gore seo se bontsha ge gore patient eo ile siwa pele ko Mosego homes for leave of absence.
Ke a dumela.
Yes, I agree.
Now, if you would just page up to page 14336.
14336. Page eo Mama Kgosinyane.
Do you have it, Mrs. Mokgosinyana?
O fitlhile mo 14336 Mama Kgosinyane.
Yes.
Yes.
That is the form MHCA 03, the discharge report from Life Esidimeni dated 16 November 2015. Do you see that?
But eo ke discharge report na ring data 16 December ya ko Life Esidimeni. Yes.
And it reads under the heading comments, charged 2012 for kidnapping and assault, forensic observation found not fit to stand trial, was classified involuntary patient at Sterkfontein Hospital. He was transferred to this facility April 2013. marked global atrophy. That CTB would be a CT study of the brain. Bloods, vitamin B12 deficiency on replacement treatment since the RX is treatment. He has been well behaved but needs structure and supervision. His family maintains contact. I can't make out the next two words, but cannot provide appropriate care. Placed at Musega home-based care. And then at the bottom of the page, on the left-hand side, there is RX and various medications are itemized. And on the right, there is a triangle which indicates diagnosis. And it refers to, I presume, the DSM-5 categorization, dementia. The axis 2 is deferred, axis 3 is cerebral atrophy, and it looks like hypertension, vitamin B12 deficiency. Axis 4 is deferred, and then axis 5 is functional age 31 to 40. Would you agree with what I read to you?
Mama Hosinyane, on sabala advocate mo documenting eo. Fedise ano. Ara amiu dumelana le se sansa sebala mo documenting so sote ansa sebala mo.
Ki dumelana le so.
Yes, I do.
Mrs. Mokgosinyana, I'm sure you will agree that this is a very comprehensive discharge summary addressing both the patient's mental and physical condition, his treatment, and his diagnosis.
Yeah, no, I'm moved me and then a discharge report gets anything a comprehensive data, a wanka mental, healthy, physical healthy, the medication, capa treatment, a patient telling moyon.
Ha ke ne ke bua ka medical report ne ke bua ka gore ke e bontsha gore doctor physical doctor o mo assessitse.
When I spoke about a medical report, what I meant is that a physical doctor assessed the patient.
I understand that, Mrs. Mokgosinyana, but what I'm putting to you is that my apologies, my lady.
Just hold it there. Continue.
Thank you, my lady. Mrs. Mokgosinyana, what I'm putting to you is that this discharge report is a detailed summary as required by the National Health Act and the Mental Health Care Act. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, arseko go tsang sone go gore a mme o dumelana le nna ha ke report re fetsang go ibala e ke tseneletseng tota e fang di details tse di tseneletseng ya ka go batlega ya ka go beilwe ka Mental Health Care Act le National Health Care Act. A mme o dumelana le seo?
Ke dumelana le sone ka gore e mpolella gore o tshwerwe ke eng.
Yes, I do agree with that because it does tell me what is wrong or what ailments does the person have.
Thank you. Now, if you would please turn to page 14327.
Yeah, for page 14327.
And just indicate when you are at that page.
Warehouse certificate go for page 14327. Also, Mama Hosinyane?
Yeah.
I am there.
Thank you. You will see that this is a form MHCA 13 capital A.
One
And
of them everything MHCA 13A 13A.
and it is a periodical report.
Periodical report.
ke a e bona periodical
Yes, I
report.
see that.
If you turn to page or scroll down to page 14331,
Page 14331.
Just for the purpose of the record, this is the periodical report in respect of the patient Gerhardus Meyer.
as your ladyship pleases.
At the periodical report e mama Hosinyane ke ya ha patient Gerhardus Meyer. Yes.
And if you are now at page 14331, you will see that this periodical report was issued by Sterkfontein Hospital and signed by the
Gore periodical report e ke filweng ke ba Sterkfontein Hospital.
signed by the head of the establishment on 19 April 2013.
E signile ke letona la teng 19 April 2013.
You see that, Mrs. Mokgosinyana?
Ame was bona seo mama Hosinyane?
Ke a bona.
Yes, I see that.
I'm not going to take you through the document, but you will agree with me that it appears that all relevant information was provided. And you are welcome to read the document before you answer.
Are yone nka se ibale ke ibale le wena me ame o dumelana le nna na gore document eo e ngwetse tsotlhe tse di batlegang mo go yone o na le gone ge gore o ka e bala pele ga gore o araba.
Ke botsa gore ke periodical.
Is it a periodical report?
Yes, this is a periodical report.
Are ke yone periodical report.
If you can,
Sure.
that was the reason you were referred to page 14327.
Are ke ele tla tshwana referetse ko yone ko page 14327.
If you may go back to that page and look at it before you answer this question.
O ka boela ko pageng eo o bo lebella mowa pele ga go araba. Anong potso e ne le gore a mme wa dumela gore report e kwetse ka tsela e tshwanetseng ebile e kwetse tsotlhe tse di tlhokegang ebile wa ba boleliwa ge gore o ka bala pele ga gore o arabe.
Ke a e bala gone ke gone ke simololang go e bala.
It is only now that I'm starting to read it.
Is Kelly?
My lady, if I may, I had my hand up raised. I had raised my hand up for quite some time now, and I'm not being acknowledged.
You must remember that I'm also listening and also taking notes.
Yeah, but I see. Anyway, my lady, the issue that I have with the question is, I don't understand why this witness is required to confirm that report when it's already on record, and she's not the one who authored the report. It has got nothing to do with her.
Can we excuse the witness for now? Just a second. Can the witness step aside, please?
It's a question of relevance. I mean, it has nothing to do with her. It's not the author of the report. She was not there when the report was being done. And she's not an expert in the field of what is required to be included in a report, whether it gives us no value in terms of the issue of the causes of death and also what we are here to investigate. I mean, I don't understand why this witness in particular is required to confirm something that is already there on record, and which is for the court and for the learned senior counsel to argue at a later stage. It's just putting her through an unnecessary strain of having to read through documents which have nothing to do with her. May it please you, my lady.
Thank you, Mr. Pichela. Mr. Van Bergen, and if there is any other person who would like to say something before, after Mr. Van Bergen, I'll give them the opportunity before Mr. Pichela replies. Mr. Van Bergen?
Thank you, my lady. My lady, this witness testified under cross-examination by Mr. Profi that there were deficiencies in specifically the periodical reports. And it was suggested to her that those deficiencies caused difficulties in the care and management of patients. I submit that having given that evidence, my lady, she cannot shy away from looking at these reports and being asked questions about them. It goes directly to her evidence that she gave. Whether she was the author of the report is irrelevant, because the issue here is what was provided, what should have been provided, and was what was provided lacking in any respect or not. That's the point, my lady. I submit there's no substance to the objection.
Thank you.
With all respect to
I think yes, thank you, Mr. Van Bergen. There is Mr. Profi. Is there any other person? Mr. Profi?
My lady, my learned senior is making reference to my cross-examination. I asked her if she recalls any users who had outdated or missing periodic reports. She says she can't remember. And then now we're going to subject her to answer elaborately on her that she can't remember. So I don't see why we need this exercise.
Are you suggesting that her evidence didn't indicate that there were deficiencies in the periodical reports, which made them difficult to take care of the patients? Because that was the evidence that I understood from the witness.
Correct, my lady. And then I asked her if there was a list of the users.
Yes, that I understand. That's fine. I'm just saying that what you are submitting to the court, are you saying that that evidence is not before court?
No, my lady, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying.
You agree that that evidence is before court?
Yes, my lady, that evidence is before
Thank
the court.
you. Mr. Pina?
Sorry, may it please the court, my lady, I would submit that Mr. Van Bergen's submission to your ladyship is correct, and it's the line of questioning presented by Mr. van Bergen is relevant, my lady, with regard to the evidence that had been presented to your ladyship prior to Mr. van Bergen's cross-examination. And Mr. van Bergen is limiting his cross-examination, the way I interpret it, to the specific issues that he indicated prior to the commencement of his cross-examination, my lady. And I would submit, even on a collateral basis, my lady, it still remains relevant.
Okay.
Please the court, my lady.
Thank you. Any of the evidence leaders? I see there is a hand. I don't know whether one of you forgot to lower his hand. Miss Marriott?
Thank you, my lady. We heard yesterday that the witness had problems with her eyesight and difficulty to read documentation. So if my colleague wants the witness to read through documentation, I would submit he needs to give her a proper opportunity, or he has to read it for her on her behalf, so that she can listen to the evidence or the contents of the document.
Yes, thank you. But what are you saying on the issue that has been raised? You don't want to say anything?
No, my lady, I agree with Advocate van Bergen. The witness indicated that there were insufficiencies in the periodical reports.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Pichela?
Court pleases, my lady. My lady, a few minutes ago, the witness was asked a question with regard to documents that were not there. She indicated that periodical reports, some did not have periodical reports. Some of those that had periodical reports had information that was old. Now we're dealing with about 23 people here. From the pile, you choose one, and you are now pushing the proposition. If we're going to be fair, then it means that, because she didn't say that periodicals were never provided, or that they had, all of them had insufficient information. She indicated that in some instances, the information on the periodicals was old. So if we're going to deal with it, then let's deal with it entirely and holistically. If the court doesn't see a problem with this, then I'll take it up when my opportunity comes. I'll go through all the 23 of them, and maybe the witness will be able to answer. But I still feel that it's unfair to this witness. And like Ms. Marriott says, then maybe the document should be printed and presented to the witness. She'll be given an opportunity to go through this document, and then perhaps we'll be in a position to answer the questions, my lady. That will be my submission.
Thank you. My view is that you are taking this too far, Mr. Pichela. I don't see any unfairness to this question. This emanates from the evidence that she presented before this court. The question is allowed, and I can see, I don't understand when you say this is irrelevant. All what I'm going to request is that when Mr. van Bergen ask questions to the witness with regard to the witness having to read the document, it is proper if you can assist the witness, or maybe we should maybe grant the witness an opportunity through an interpreter just to read the contents of the documents to her prior to her answering the question. I see it's now 20 minutes past 11. Perhaps we should take this opportunity when we take the tea break, allow the witness and the interpreter to assist each other so that when she comes back, then she can be in a position to respond to the question that was asked to her. I'm going to allow the interpreter to take a 10-minute break. And then after that, the interpreter can be with the witness and try to assist the witness if the document can be shown on the screen, if that is possible.
My lady, may I speak?
Yes, you may, Mr.
The witness indicated that she does understand the English on the documents. It's just that she has difficulty reading.
Come again?
The witness indicated to me that she does understand the contents of the documents. It's only that she has difficulty reading it with her eyes. That's why it was yesterday or the day before. Yesterday decided that maybe the documents should be read to her by the person who's doing the examination.
No, that's fine. In that case, what will be done is that when we resume, Mr. Van Bergen can direct the witness to the portions that he wants the witness to respond on, and then so that she can first understand the document, and then from there she can respond. We're going to break now. Okay.
My lady, my apologies for interjecting, but before your ladyship adjourns the proceedings, I wish to indicate that by virtue of the evidence that has been given, it will be necessary for me to go through each and every of the deceased from Mosega. There are, I think Mr. Pishlela is right, that there are 23 of them.
Yes.
It is going to be an extremely lengthy process, my lady. This is not going to finish soon. So unless any of my colleagues can suggest a faster way of dealing with it, that is the way I intend doing it. And it is definitely going to exceed today, and it may take a number of days. I just want to place that on record, my lady.
Okay, that has been noted. Mr. Pishlela?
My lady, may I then venture a suggestion that we get an indication as to which documents, so that the witness can then get an opportunity to go through those documents, as it's been indicated that she does have a problem with her eyesight, and maybe that would then facilitate the answering of the questions in that regard. That's
I don't
merely a
understand
suggestion
now, because what I've said is that Mr. Van Bergen will have to read that portion to the witness, so that the witness can listen to what shall have been read to her before she responds to that.
My lady, I'm responding in respect of what the learned senior counsel has just indicated, that this might also take over a couple of days. I'm just saying that we get an indication of the documents that are going to be required in that regard. If it's a question of only periodical reports, then I believe that periodical reports can be made available to this witness. It's all about fairness to the witness, my lady. And she doesn't have access to case lines like the other witnesses had. So she doesn't have the opportunity to go through the documents. I'm merely requesting, as it happened yesterday, that those documents be made available to her by the evidence leaders prior to her testifying, my lady. That's all I'm requesting in this regard, because she's not the author of the documents, and it's not like when a document is being read to you, you'll immediately grasp the essence of the document, because then we're going to go through a tedious process of us having to go through each and every paragraph in that document. I'm responding to the suggestion on how to limit the time that it will take to finish the entire exercise by the learned senior counsel, my lady.
All right. Can I hear? I see Mr. Pinar's hand is up. Can I also hear either or one of the evidence leaders, and whoever wants to say something? Ms. Merritt, I've also noted you. Can Mr. Pinar go first?
May it please the court, my lady. Sorry, my lady. My lady, considering the indication provided by my learned colleague, Mr. Van Bergen, to your ladyship, I would venture to submit that maybe it would be more of assistance if the 23 patients involved who had passed away are identified to the witness with the relevant documentation, and she's granted the opportunity with the assistance of the evidence leaders to peruse such documentation before the cross-examination continues. As Mr. van Bergen indicated, I do believe that would curtail the proceedings and his cross-examination, and in order to provide in that regard, my ladyship, maybe it would be more fortuitous if we can adjourn today's proceedings until tomorrow morning, because the indication is if each one had to be dealt with separately, be it consecutively, it would take a number of days, or it could take a number of days. And I believe, and I would submit, if we can follow a procedure like that, depending on what the colleagues' contentions are in this regard, it would at least be of assistance to your ladyship and to this Honourable Inquest Court, and curtail the time spent with this specific witness, taking into consideration that she has an eye impediment, my lady. And in that regard, I believe the evidence leaders can also be of assistance to the witness. May it please the court, my lady.
Thank you. Mrs. Marriott.
Thank you, my lady. I'm in agreement with Advocate Pienaar as well as Advocate Petlela for this witness to be provided with an opportunity to go through these statements. We are willing to assist her in any event, should that be necessary. But if Advocate van Bergen can provide us with page numbers, I would appreciate it tremendously, as the court is aware that some of the deceased dockets does not contain hospital documentation.
Yes,
so if he can indicate which patients he wants to refer this witness to, as well as the page numbers on case lines, we are willing to assist the witness to go through that, to shorten the proceedings.
I don't know whose hand is that.
I think it's mine, my lady.
No, just put it down and then there is a, okay. Yes, Mr. van Berg.
Thank you, my lady. My lady, I've no objection, and in the interest of fairness, that it is perhaps a good suggestion that the witness be afforded the opportunity of perusing the documentation. I can provide the evidence leaders with the names of the patients. Well, they are all on case lines, but they are all the patients, deceased patients from the Secha home. And I will provide the page numbers as well to them.
Okay, thank you very much. I take it that everybody is in agreement with this proposal. Then we can adjourn this proceedings. I think Mr. van Bergen will liaise with the evidence leaders as soon as possible, so that before the close of business or in the afternoon, the witness shall be in possession of the documents. The witness can therefore be warned to be present tomorrow morning for us to continue with her cross-examination by Mr. van Bergen. Yes, I've noted you, Mr. Pichela. Let the interpreter interpret first.
Mama Khosinyana, Judge se file taelo ge gore go itswe matsapa gore fumane di documents tso tsotlhe, and then ka mosho o beteng gape gore go tlotswela pele ka wena mo inquiry e. O itse ge gore go tloga ka tsheko le ka moso ntse go tshwana o ntse le mo tlase ga kano, seo se ra gore ga wa tshwana go bua lope ka se se diragalang mo inquiry e. Wa tlhaloganya Mama Khosinyana?
I think she was, remember we asked her to step aside. In the meantime, just before you call her back, in the meantime, I saw there was also a hand. Okay, there she is. There was a hand by, if you can just interpret first. I've also noted Miss Hasim after Mr. Pichela.
Mama Khosinyane, Judge sa ntshitse taelo gore go tsa matsapa gore fuwe di documents. And then go tla go emiswa ka tsheko o bo bidiwa gape ka mosho. And then we itse gape gore go tloga yanong go ntse go tshwana o ntse le tlase ga kano, seo se ra gore ga o bue le ope ka se se diragalang mo inquiry e. Tot ka mosho. wa ga utlwela Mama Khosinyane? Mama Khosinyane,
Utlwetse.
understood. Understood, my lady.
Yes, she can just wait. Let's hear from Mr. Pichela, from the Ms. Hassan.
Yes, court pleases, my lady. I merely had a request that we be included in those in that communication, my lady, with reference to those page numbers and documents. That was merely a request, my lady, from.
Well, that's when the evidence leaders copy you, they'll have to copy us, all of us. Thank you.
My apologies. May I perhaps just respond to that?
Okay.
My lady, I have no objection to providing the page numbers to the evidence leaders and the witness, in fairness to the witness. By providing the page numbers, it will, to a large extent, tip my hand as far as where I am going with my cross-examination is concerned. I'm not under an obligation, and in fairness to my client and me as cross-examiner, I am not going to disclose my cross-examination and the line that I'm going to take before I cross-examine. So I'm not willing to provide anyone else with the particularity that has been sought.
Okay, Mr. Pichel.
My lady, I represent this witness in these proceedings. The role of the evidence leaders in this instance is a role that I could also have assumed, but for the purpose of these proceedings, we decided that the evidence leaders should be the ones to lead the witness in this proceedings. I don't see any conflict there, because I understand that we are all on a quest for the truth, and not to surprise anyone in this instance, my lady. I don't see any issue there with being provided with that information, because I represent this witness, my lady. And that will mean that I'm being excluded from that process. May it please you, my lady.
Thank you. Can I hear from the evidence leaders?
I believe that het is nie 'n verhoor nie. Ek bedoel van Berg.
Can Mr. Lake, my
My lady, I would submit that if the page numbers are provided, it's just pertaining to a guidance to everyone to which documents will be referred to. It doesn't indicate what line of cross-examination will follow. It's my respectful submission. So I do not see why the page numbers cannot be provided to everyone else.
Yes, Mr. Van Bergen.
Thank you, my lady. I see Ms. Hassan's hand is also up. I don't know whether
Yes,
she wants to say
yes.
anything on this.
I don't know whether this is going to relate to the same issue. Ms. Hassan, if we can hear you.
My lady, it wasn't, I didn't raise my hand in relation to this issue.
That is why I didn't recognize you earlier, because I knew this was a issue. Yes, okay.
I raised my hand before this issue
arose.
It's
fine, we proceed.
But if I can just take advantage of the fact then that I am here to say that I'm in agreement with my learned friend, Mr. Van Bergen, that he's under no obligation to share this information with anybody else. I think at this point, the witness is under cross-examination. The purpose of providing this information is to assist her, not to assist anybody else. My lady, what I really wanted to say, and I'll wait and come back on if you wanted to resolve this first, it's about Dr. Talatala.
Oh, okay. No, let's dispose of this issue first.
As a good.
Yeah.
Thank you, my lady. If my apologies for interrupting your ladyship. If I may just respond to Mr. Pihlela's last submissions to your ladyship.
Just before you do that, Mr. I don't know whether Mr. Late wants to say something. Yes, and I see.
Yes, my lady.
Before I also recognize Mr. Profi. Can Mr. Profi go first? Mr. Profi?
My lady, Mr. Lit is my senior, and if it is what he usually says, I was merely going to give the words that he usually gives to me, that this is not a criminal trial, which we must always remember. I think those words that have been repeated to me multiple times, I now have the opportunity to repeat them, that we must remember that this is not a criminal trial, but an
Thank you, Mr. Profi. Mr. Late.
Yes, my lady. I wanted to remind everybody, especially Mr. Van Bergen, that this is not and Ms. Asim, this is not a criminal trial, and this is not cross-examination, as in a criminal trial or a civil trial. In terms of Section 11 of the Inquest Act, everybody can ask questions to a witness allowed by the court. A person who has a special interest in the inquest. It's not cross-examination like in for testing a person's credibility and so forth. Furthermore, I understand that Mr. Van Bergen wants to address the issue by the witness regarding the documentation. Or the sufficient documentation and so forth. But where is it going to bring us regarding the causation of the deceased of all these people? I think the matter of whether documentation has been provided sufficiently or not has been addressed to this court in numerous aspects or numerous forms already. And I can't see whether any of these periodical reports were complete or not is going to assist this court in coming to the conclusion that a person was died as a result of anybody's negligence or intent, except maybe for Mr. Hartman, who was assaulted in this regard. I don't want to curb his cross-examination of the witness, but I can't see where he's going with this in such a long way. Really, if you take into consideration the contents of those reports, what her subjective feeling about those reports were, is irrelevant to this court. The court has those documentation before court. The court can look at the contents thereof. What her subjective feeling thereof is will not help this court in the end in coming to a decision. So I asked Mr. Van Bergen, we're going to provide the documentation to the witness, but I asked Mr. Van Bergen to reconsider the roundabout that he wants to take in this regard.
Thank you. Ms. Asim, you can just lower your hand. I've noted you. Just remind me once I close the matter. Mr. Van Bergen.
Thank you, my lady. My lady, as regards the reference to these proceedings not being a criminal trial, I'm well aware of that, my lady, but that does not mean that my rights as cross-examiner and more particularly as the representative of my client, who I have to protect and whose interests I have to protect, should be ridden roughshod over. The request for documentation was, as I've said previously, for the assistance of the witness, not for the assistance of anyone else. Mr. Pislela said, well, it's now given to the evidence leaders. He could have been in that position. Well, the fact is he isn't. He made an election and he must live with the consequences of that. What I can say, my lady, all that anyone who is interested on delving into where I'm going has to do is to read the contents of each docket. The documents are there.
With regard to the issue of relevance, that the issue that has been raised by Mr. Late now.
My lady, the proposition that Mr. Profi put to the witness, and if I may just be allowed to see if I can find my note on that specific issue. was that, the lady will just bear with me for a moment. My lady, I don't want to waste time. What it boils down to is Mr. Profi suggested that and he referred specifically to outdated reports, periodicals, that this impacted on the ability of the NGO to care for the patients and could have or could be related to the death or cause of death of the patient. And that is why it is relevant, my lady. If everybody can agree at this point that any lack of records as suggested by Mr. Profi did not contribute to the cause of death or cause any of the deaths, well, then we can let this issue go. But as it stands, my lady, I'm entitled to address it.
Thank you, Mr. Late.
My lady, with all due respect to Mr. van Bergen, is just like a mechanic commenting on a medical aspect. He's not an expert. She gave her personal opinion about that, which doesn't carry much weight. And to go through each and every of those documents with her is not going to be of assistance in any way to have her personal opinion on it. The court can read it. It's already part of the record. The court can decide whether there is sufficient evidence in each of those documents that was provided to Mosego. The court is just as an expert as the witness is, because she's not even a psychiatric nurse. She's got a general nursing and midwifery as her qualifications. So to go on and on and on with all these documents is unfair to her and of no assistance to this court.
Thank you. Do you want to respond so that I can close the issue, Mr. van Bergen?
So I'll be brief, my lady. I can't anticipate, my lady, what value your ladyship is going to attach to Ms. Mokgosinyana's evidence. And therefore, I can't just leave it unturned. As your ladyship pleases.
Thank you very much. I have been listening to the submissions by all the council involved with regard to this issue and the objection by Mr. Pichela. Having considered all that, it is my view that from the witness herself, she has testified that she's just a professional nurse. She's not a psychiatrist. As to the issues pertaining to the records that were provided to Mosego home by Life Esidimeni, evidence is on record. We have had evidence from even the experts who testified, the doctors and nurses like, was it Mr. Pinar? So that evidence regarding whether this was sufficient or not, it's already on record. In my view, this witness, even if she can be taken through the list of all the deceased who were at Mosego, I don't see how she can assist the court with regard to this issue, taking into account that she has testified that she's just a professional nurse. She's not a psychiatrist. And I don't see how further cross-examination on this aspect will assist the court. On that basis, Mr. Van Bergen, I'm not going to allow you to pursue this point any further. And therefore, I just feel that then it will therefore not be necessary for the court to continue to give her an opportunity to go through what you wanted her to go through. On that basis, I think this line of questioning can be refrained from. Thank you very much.
As your ladyship pleases, and I'm indebted to your ladyship for indicating your ladyship's stance on this issue. It simplifies matters.
I think on this note, we can take that 15-minute break. The witness was already warned. We will resume at 12 o'clock.
As your ladyship pleases.
As the court pleases.
May it please the court.
Yes, just before we continue, Ms. Asim, you wanted to update us regarding the issue of Dr. Talatala.
Thank you, my lady. It was at the point when it looked like we were going to be here for much longer with this witness. I wanted to alert the court that Dr. Talatala has been booked to provide, well, to be available for cross-examination on Thursday this week. And that was confirmed with the evidence leaders. He's already cleared his schedule for Thursday.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, my lady.
Yes, the witness is reminded that she's still under oath.
Mrs. Hosinyane, once the class hakano ya go bua nnete wa utlwa ma? Mrs. Hosinyane, understood.
Mr. van Bergen.
Thank you, my lady. My lady, in the light of your ladyship's ruling regarding the value of the opinion of this witness, I have no further questions.
You started that before you went outside.
Just can you mute the witness mic, please? If I may, I just want to check if there is anyone that I could have mistakenly omitted, or anyone who reserved his cross-examination before I go back to Mr. Pihlela. All right, it appears there is none. Mr. Pihlela, you may then proceed.
Thank you, my lady. Good afternoon, Ms. Hosinyane.
Mama Hosinyane, dumela.
Ms. Hosinyane, I'm not going to be long with you. I just want clarity on a few aspects in respect of some of the deceased persons.
Mama Hosinyane, advocate Rahato, Zana Peter le wena. O tla batla fela go tlhaloganya dilo tse mmalwa mabapi le ba bang ba ile ba tlhokafala.
No, I want to refer you to the late Mr. Michael Mokgethi.
Re batla gore o bua ka Michael Mokgethi.
And if maybe we can turn to page.
Docket number.
I apologize, my lady. I've got a page number here. The document that I wanted to refer to is on page 13820.
My lady, my apologies to Mr. Pihlela. It's docket number 76.
Thank you, Mr. van Bergen.
I'm indebted to the Learned Senior Council.
Page 13820.
Yes, my lady.
Yes.
I don't see the document being displayed, my lady, so.
Sacha, can you please assist us? I don't know whether she's present today to assist us. Or anyone can assist us if they can. Has the document been displayed?
Yes, I can see it now, my lady.
Okay. All right, continue.
Memo, what I want to understand with reference to this statement, maybe the way this statement was made, is it seems like this type of statement appears on many other of the deceased persons, correct?
Our statement se ka mokgwa se bonang ka teng le ka mokgwa se ngotseng ka teng se bonala mo tsotlhe kapa mo tsotlhe tsa ding tsa di-patient. A mme go yalo? Yes.
Now, what I wanted to understand is, when you were making this statement, was it in response to questions that were being asked of you?
Yeah, no, potso ke gore ga o no etsa statement se, a mme o ne o dira yalo e le gore o botsa dipotso o bo araba ka mokgwa ntseng yana?
Ne ke botswa dipotso.
Yes, I was asked questions.
So it was to answer a specific question that was being asked.
Yeah, no, e ne le gore o araba potso e rileng o no botsiwa yona. Yes.
Now, do you still recall Mr. Michael Mokgethi?
Mme o sa mo gopola Michael Mokgethi? Yes.
Is there anything that you want to tell the court in addition to what you have testified to today regarding his medical condition?
A mme ka medical condition ya gagwe go sa bonagala le se sengwe se o batlang go se bolelela kgotla ka ena mo godimo ga setse o se buile ka ena?
Ntate Michael Mokgethi e ne le na tshwere ke bolwetse ba gowa.
Mr. Michael Mokgethi had epilepsy.
Ene gape nana le old cranial trauma.
He also had an old cranial trauma.
Mo periodical report ya gagwe ya 2006 ba go kwetse gore o na le HIV.
In his 2006 periodical report, it is stated there that he is HIV. Or he has HIV. That is all.
Now, when he was brought to Mosego, was this condition disclosed to you as the healthcare workers?
Yeah, no, ga na tlisiwa kwa Mosego. A mme condition ya gagwe le la boleliwa ka yona? No.
When did you discover his HIV status?
Yeah, no, ile wa itse leng ka HIV status sa gagwe?
Ha re bala di records.
When we read the records.
The periodical report ya gagwe.
His periodical report.
Were this periodical report, pardon my lady?
Yes, continue.
Were these periodical reports provided to Mosego at the time when Mr. Mokgethi was transferred to you under your care?
Yeah, no, ha ne a transferela kwa Mosego, Mr. Mokgethi. Le la fiwa periodical reports ya gagwe?
Yone ya 2006.
Yes, the 2006 one.
2006 le tse nana le ura a ke sa gopola gore mo fileng ya gagwe gore o ka nna le di periodical report tse kae mare ya 2006 ya gore na tshwere ke bolwetse bo ke gopola yone go.
I do not remember anymore how many periodical reports he had in his file, but I do remember the 2006 periodical report that informed about that condition of his.
Now, I understand that when patients are transferred.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm going to request Mr. Late, just that they must mute their mic because we can hear him talking in the background. Ms. Marriott, please inform Mr. Late. Thank you. Proceed, Mr. Pichel.
Yes, court pleases, my lady. Now, when Mr. Mokgeti came to you, I assume that he also had his medication.
Yaanong ha Mr. Mokgeti a tla ko go lona mme go ya le gore na a tshotse medication ya gagwe ko go ene. Yes.
So
Amongst
yes.
Amongst this medication, was the medication for the treatment of HIV included?
Yaanong medication e wa ya gagwe le medication ya treatment ya HIV in everything.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, I want us now to deal with, just to clarify one aspect with reference to the relationship between Mosego and Life Esidimeni before the marathon project.
Ara ke batla go rotla o tlhalosetse mmalwanyana ka relationship ya Mosego Home le Life Esidimeni pele ga marathon project.
In particular, if you are able to respond, that is, and you are aware of this, what I wanted to understand is there are a list of patients whom you indicated that they were non-marathon project patients, correct?
Yaanong a re ga o na le tsebo ka seo ka araba a re o ile wa re go ne go na le list ya di-patients tse ne go twa ke di-non-marathon patients. Yes.
Now, before this marathon project was implemented, was Masego Home dealing with any Life Esidimeni institutions?
Yaanong pele ga gore go berekiswe marathon project ena a mme Masego Home e ne e tliša ka di-patients tsa Life Esidimeni. Yes.
So
Bako Randfontein Care Center.
Bako kae ma?
Randfontein Care Center, le Rand West.
Those from the Randfontein Care Center in Rand West.
So this will mean that even before the project, you were receiving patients from these two institutions, correct?
Yaanong seo se ra gore le pele ga marathon project o ne o amogela di-patients go tswa ko di-institution tse pedi tse. Yes.
Now, if we may turn to that list of non-marathon patients.
What are your listing area patients? Is it non-marathon patients?
Request, my lady, that the indulgence for the list to be displayed for the witness.
Page.
37494, my lady, I believe.
I've got the list.
37494.
Yes, that's code, please.
Yes, I think it has been displaced. 374.
Yes, ma'am. Are you able to identify from the names on this list? Lady, I'm getting feedback. I don't know where it's coming from, but it's not from my side.
Come again?
No, I was getting a feedback, my lady, microphone feedback, but it's not from my side, so I don't know.
Okay.
But in any event, it seems to have abated. Ma'am, if you go through this list of 9 people, are you able to identify those that came from those two institutions of Life Esidimeni before the marathon project came into being, was implemented?
Yaanong ga lebeletse list ena, a mme go na le bo ba bonang bo ba itseng gore ba kile ba tla go lona ba tswa ko Life Esidimeni pele ga marathon project e simolola?
Ke kopa potso gape.
Can you repeat
Yes.
the question again?
When you are looking at this list,
Okay, continue, Mr. Pitlen.
yes, when you look at this list of 9 people that is displayed for you, are you able to tell which ones came from those two institutions you mentioned of Life Esidimeni before the marathon project?
A mme o ka kgona go bua gore ke ba ba feng ba bileng ba tla go lona ba tswa ko di-institution tse di pedi tse tsa Life Esidimeni pele ga project marathon?
Ba botlhe ba tswa ko Randfontein Care Center le Rand West.
All of them come from Randfontein Care Center and Rand West.
And this was before the marathon project?
E le gore ke before pele ga marathon project? Yes.
Now, you testified earlier with regard to the relationship that existed between Masego and Life Esidimeni before the marathon project, correct?
Ga te wile pa ka relationship e ne le teng mogare ga Life Esidimeni le Masego home pele ga project marathon go yalo? Yes.
Now, I would like you to assist the court to understand that relationship. Now, you mentioned that there are documents that you would, firstly, that patients that were being referred were being assessed for a period of 30 days, correct?
Gore le wa re ge di patient tseo ne di assessiwa pele for 30 days ga di referiwa? Yes.
And that in terms of that relationship, if there is any patient whom you felt that Masego was not capable of assisting, you then refer them back to the relevant Life Esidimeni institution, correct?
Yeah, no, e be le gore ka yone kutlwane na le yone ne le kgona ge gore ga le bona gore patient e na le yone ka nako eo ke e leng gore Masego ga e kgone gore ka berekena le yone le bisetsa morago gape ko Life Esidimeni go yalo? Yes.
Now, if you can recall, do you still remember in terms of this agreement that existed between Masego and those two Life Esidimeni institutions, documents that they would traditionally furnish you with when they were bringing such patients to under your care? Do you recall what those documents were?
Mme o sampano gopola ge gore ke di-documents dife tse ne ba di fa tsone ba di-institution tse pedi tse tsa Life Esidimeni ga ba le referela le patient tse le gore ne ba tlwaetse gore ba le fa tsone?
My lady, before the witness can answer, I see there's a hand of Advocate van Bergen.
Just a second, Mr. van Bergen. Mr. van Bergen.
Thank you, my lady. My apologies to Mr. Pitlela for interrupting his examination of the witness. My lady, with respect, this evidence has already been presented. It was presented in response to the questions by Ms. Marriott. So this is already on record. She specifically asked what documents were provided pre-marathon and what documents post-marathon. As your ladyship pleases.
Thank you, Mr. Pichela.
Maybe I missed that part of the evidence, my lady. Apologies. I was having maybe connection problems at the time.
Okay.
But I don't see any harm in the witness answering if she's able to recall. I think with the same degree of latitude that was afforded to the learned senior counsel on aspects that some of us felt were irrelevant, there is no harm in that evidence being elicited from this
It is
witness
on
of
record.
confess.
It is on record. Miss Marriott?
Thank you, Maladi. I do agree with Advocate van Bergen indicating that this is evidence already on record, and by asking the witness again will just make the recording quite long. And my colleague can read through it when the transcription is available.
Thank you. The evidence is on record, Mr. Pichela.
As your ladyship pleases, my lady, I have no desire to waste this court's time. We can move on from that. I was merely developing my line of questioning along that line. Ma'am, earlier under cross-examination by Advocate van Bergen SC, you indicated that certain documents were not provided. And in particular, you mentioned something to do with physical examination. Can you please indicate to this honorable court what the importance of those documents are to you as...
The documents said in the physical examination, nearly say how no the Advocate van Bergen. Yano Okatalosa na for Botropa, but on KA.
There seems to be another hand, my lady.
Thank you. Yes, Miss Marriott. Miss
Lady, if I'm not mistaken, the court already made a ruling pertaining to this aspect and the questionings relating to these documents not to be allowed.
Yes, Mr. Pichela.
My lady, the ruling was with regard to different documents. The witness testified about when asked the question with regard to not period. I'm not talking about periodical reports. The witness indicated under cross-examination that there were no notes on physical examination. Now, this aspect was not developed any further than that. And I just wanted to understand the importance of these documents in the treatment of patients. Now, that aspect is not being developed, my lady.
All right, can I hear Mr. van Bergen?
Thank you, my lady. My lady, my questioning did not relate only to periodicals. I started off with the periodicals, but your ladyship's ruling related, as I understood it, and if I'm incorrect in my understanding, then I'm sure your ladyship will indicate, but that related to all documents and all alleged deficiencies relating to documents, insofar as this witness expressed an opinion as to a causal relationship between that and the deaths of the patients. That was my understanding.
Thank you, Mr. Pichela.
My lady, I'm not particularly interested in deficiencies or non-deficiencies. I merely want to understand why the witness felt that a document that contained information on physical examination is important. That is all that I want to understand. Why is it important to have such a document provided? Now, I'm not taking that aspect further than that.
Thank you. I see Mr. Sibat.
As please the court, my lady, this is the piece of evidence which the court emphasized that is quite important, and the court invited the witness to repeat it. And I think Mr. Pitlela's line of questioning is very fair because it deals with the importance of the physical examination report, which was not provided. And that aspect was not canvassed further. And the court was as well probing to get the clarity on that. And I think this aspect is quite important, my lady.
Thank you, Mr. Sibara. I've already ruled on the matter, and this matter related to whether the information or the records that were provided by Lev Esidimeni were sufficient. And in my view, that also includes this aspect that Mr. Pitlela wants to deal with. Mr. Pitlela?
Yes, court, please, my lady.
Thank you.
Ma'am, you testified that you are a nurse and you are very experienced, correct?
You are a nurse, or happy on a experience to Tibilin. Oyalo. Mama Hosinyane, Wankutla.
You
testified that you are a nurse and you are experienced.
Are akere opakile warowena on nurse. If you don't have experience. Yes.
How many years of experience?
The experience ya jaratekta ya bonese on a linyon.
Kiberekile ko life Esidimeni 41 years.
I worked at Life Esidimeni for 41 years.
And then Komuseho Kiberekile 10.
At Moseho, I worked 10 years.
So essentially, we are talking over 51 years of experience, correct?
Yeah, no, you say if the experience of 51 years in nursing. Yes.
Now, in this 51 years of experience as a nurse, what is the function of a physical examination report?
Yeah, no more experience in your 51 years of nursing. Medical physical report in.
Physical examination.
What physical examination?
Physical examination.
My lady, before the witness answered.
Yes, Ms. Marriott.
The court just made a ruling pertaining to a physical examination. Now, to ask the question differently doesn't mean that the question will be allowed.
Mr. Pitlela?
My lady, if I may, I don't understand now because I'm not talking about Life Esidimeni. I am talking about the function of a physical examination. Now, this question, I'm not putting any suggestion to a witness. I am not dealing with, I want the court to understand the function of a document, of an action of physical examining. Now, there is nothing, the court did not rule on the whether this document was, the court ruled on whether certain documents were provided or not provided. We are now talking about the function of physical examination in the treatment of patients in this patient's experience.
Mr. Sibara, and if there is any, Mr. Van Bergen. Yes.
Sorry, my lady. My hand functioning, I don't know what happened, it just popped up. I just removed it.
Okay, so okay, Mr. Van Bergen.
Thank you, my lady. My lady, my concern about this question is where is it going, to borrow from Mr. Leight's terminology? What is the relevance of knowing what the function of a physical examination report is, especially given your ladyship's ruling earlier?
Thank you.
My lady, the relevance is The same with a periodical report, the same with any other document. Every document serves a function. Now, for me to ask this witness to explain this court the function of a physical examination, unless the court says we are well aware of the function of a physical examination, then that would then mean that the court is aware of it, then there is no relevance. But I don't understand why we would object to a witness giving a definition of a document that she uses in a practice of nursing. Because now I'm talking now about her experience in the practice of nursing in the 51 years, that hence I had to set a background to the question, my lady. I'm not dealing just
where
because...
are you getting with this, Mr. Pichela, given the ruling?
My lady, that would be a matter that I would argue at the end.
To say?
For now, I'm not taking this question, my lady.
You're going to argue that?
I'm not taking this document further. I'm not taking this question further than understanding what is the function of this document.
Okay.
I'm not going to take any further than that, man.
So, sorry, my lady, just to take the court a bit step back. This witness, out of her own volition.
Can the witness step aside, please?
Thank you, my lady. Thank you, my lady. Out of her own volition, when she testified, she specifically singled out this report. And just to gag her from specifying and elaborating further, why did she individually identify this report as missing? I think this court might leave a very crucial aspect and a very important information about this specific form. And I think Mr. Pichela is going in line with her experience as a medical doctor, which is around 51 years. And my lady, during the evidence, when she testified, when Advocate Profi was asking her questions, she identified this form as missing, and it was never probed further why she was so interested in this form missing, specifically when she went to collect or when the patients were transferred to Museko. I think, my lady, I understand and I appreciate the ruling of the court that there's been a ruling that documents which were, records which were forwarded to Museko from Life Esidimeni should not be touched by this witness. But however, it is a glossary ruling, my lady, but this witness has specifically singled out specific forms which I think the court should have an appetite to get information about them, as it pleases the court, my lady.
Thank you, Mr. Sibara. Do you want to say something before I close the matter? Because Mr. Sibara interrupted me, Mr. Pichel.
I'm in the hands of the court, my lady.
Okay. I've made my ruling regarding the issue of the periodical reports, and I don't want to revisit that ruling. It has already been made, and further to that, I don't see any relevance of this question that you are asking, Mr. Pichel. Continue with other questions.
As court pleases, my lady, I just wanted the court to recall that I'm talking about physical examination.
Yes, I understand that, because my ruling also dealt with the issue of physical examinations. Yes, with regard to what is contained in those reports, whatever documents that were handed to the NGOs, in particular Museo. Can we move this point and continue? You have made your point.
As court pleases, my lady. Apologies, my lady, for interrupting your ladyship earlier when she was still talking. Apologies, my lady. I seem to have lost my train of thought for a second here.
Okay, it's fine. You'll be given the opportunity to.
Thank you, my lady.
That's okay.
Ma'am, I want to refer you to Mr. Mabati. I think you testified. Mabati.
David Mabati.
I think you testified about it. Yes.
Mr. Mabati.
In particular, with regard to Mr. Mabati, sorry, you indicated that he had TB, correct?
We don't want Mr. Mabati on another TB. Amehelo. Yes, that is correct.
Now, you will agree with me that TB is a highly infectious disease, correct?
Ame wa dumela ge gore TB ke bolwetse bo bo tshelelang tota. Yes.
And that a patient with TB would put other patients at risk, correct?
Yeah, no, molwetse o na leng TB, ka bakeng la gore tshwaetsana a ka beya ba bang mo kotsing. The patients tse ding mo kotsing. Yes.
Now, what I want to understand is, when did this knowledge of Mr. Mabati's condition come to your attention?
Yeah, no, ilo asimola leng go itse ge gore Mr. Mabati o na le bolwetse bo.
Mr. Mabati, weight ya gage ga re mo re tsa di weight re kreile e le gore weight ya gage ke 56 e dropile ka 6 kg.
When we weighed Mr. Mabati, we found that his weight is at 56, meaning that he had dropped. He had dropped with 6 kg.
And this was.
Excuse me?
The witness is still testifying. Can we give her the chance, please?
Apologies, my lady.
And can I also ask you, when the interpreter is still interpreting, please allow her to do her job, Mr.
With due deference to the court, my lady.
Continue.
Yeah, Mama
Ngaka.
Excuse Mama Hosinyane?
Ngaka.
Hey. We Lamisanga ke. Yes. Yes, we took him to the doctor. Yeah.
Doctor Amufadi Pilis.
The doctor gave him pills.
Morago ga malatsinyana ra bona a le weak.
And then after some days, we saw that he was weak.
Re mo isa o clinic.
We took him to the clinic.
Gore ka di 30/12/2016 ra mo isa ko clinic.
It was date 30/12 of 2016 that we took him to the clinic.
Clinic.
Which date, Mr. Interpreter?
30/12/2016.
Yes.
Ko clinic ba kopa di hotlolo tse tharo.
At the clinic, they requested for 3 of his sputum tests. Yeah. Yes. When those returned,
they
indicated that he has TB.
So at the clinic, they did some tests, and the test results indicated that he suffered from TB.
Yeah, no clinic tester, and then the result had to be very bonsa corona TB. Yes. We then sent him to hospital.
Admit ward 13.
He was then admitted in ward 13.
Which hospital?
Hospital is the thing, ma'am.
Dr. Yusuf Dadu Hospital.
Dr. Yusuf Dadu Hospital.
Hospital.
Continue, Mr. Pichel.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, my lady. So, if I understand you correctly, this was done when he had already been transferred to Mosego, correct?
Yaanong seo se dirilwe e le gore o se tla transferetswe kwa Mosego Home. Go yalo?
Go yalo.
That is correct.
And so that says that his condition was only known after he was transferred.
Yaanong seo se ra gore di la itse ka bolwetse bo ba gage morago ga gore a se tsa transferilwe. Yes.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, I just wanted to find out something with reference to the document on page 14674. You were referred to the document during an objection by Advocate Adila Hasim SC, who was objecting to the line of cross-examination that was being advanced by Advocate Profi. And there is only one thing that I need to find out. At the bottom of that document, it seems to have been compiled by a person named Simon. If we can scroll down to the end of the document where it indicates who this assessing person was.
This is on which page now?
Okay,
I'm there, 14678.
Yes, my lady. I'm indebted to the Honorable Court. There is a name there at the bottom, name of the assessor and surname. It says Simon. Do you know who that Simon is?
Wa bona lebitso la ga Simon mo go ngwetseng name of assessor mo document 14678. A mme wa mitse re Simon o wa ke mang mama Fasinya?
Simon ke professional nurse ne re bereka le ene.
Simon
Psychiatric nurse ne re bereka le ene.
Simon is a psychiatric nurse who was working with us.
Okay. Thank you. That issue has been clarified. Now, during cross-examination by Advocate Hasim, SC, you were cross-examined extensively on clinical records, if I recall.
Advocate Hasim hana go botsa dipotso go boditse tota ga go loka di clinical reports. Yes.
Now, there's just one thing that I wanted to understand with regard to information that should be contained in the clinical notes that are made for a patient's file. You indicated that certain information is kept separately, correct?
We do ware engwe ya information e be wa separate. A me go yalo? Ga no bua
di files go na le re tsenya mo fileng ya patient mo different file e re compile.
Yes, when we compile a file for a patient, there is a different file that we compile.
Yes. Now, there was an issue being taken up with
Just
regard
a second,
to...
if I may interject so that we shouldn't prolong the matter and not to frustrate the witness. Your evidence was with regard to why were the prescription of the patients not included in the clinical records, and your evidence was that the prescription of the patient was kept differently from the file that kept the clinical records. Is it how I understood your evidence?
Oh yeah, for we do worry a prescription record ebe was separated or the whole clinical record. Yes.
You can take it from there, Mr. Pichel.
Yes, the only thing that I wanted to understand is what other information is recorded. This with reference to whether do you write what you gave to a patient on that day, the food that he ate and those kind of things.
Yeah, no, a rata go itsege gore a mme la kwala mo rekoteng ya lona gape dilo tse dingwe mo ya ka gore ka letsatsi leo patient o jele dijo tse lefeng tse di ntseng yang.
Diripoto tsa rona re di kwala ka kgwedi tsa di-patient ga patient e sa lwale.
We write reports monthly when a patient did not get sick.
Ba ba lwalang re ba kwala every day until a fole bolwetse bo.
With those that are sick, we write every day until they are well from whatever they are sick from.
Okay, no, now I understand. Thank you for the clarity, ma'am.
You're right. You say those the sick patients. You record everything. You record their condition every day until they are.
Yeah, no. Really, ba lwalang. Le kwala mo di filings tsa bone every day. Go be go dire yang mamogosi nyana ka bone
A fole.
until they are well.
Yeah, continue, Mr. Pitla.
Yes, court pleases, my lady. Ma'am, in the 41 years that you worked at Life Esidimeni.
41 years, yes.
Yes, 41 years that she worked at Life Esidimeni. Were the deaths occurring at those institutions that you worked for?
Yeah, no more 41 years o iberekileng ko Life Esidimeni. Batho ba tlhokafalang mo di-institutions tse di berekileng.
Go na le di-patient ne di tlhokofala.
Yes, there would be patients that would die.
And this was understood to be a natural occurrence, correct? That people die.
Ne seng ka ga ya ka ntho e tlwaelegileng gore batho ba tlhokafala. Yes.
Now, is there anything that you remember that would want you to question any of those deaths?
Me go na le sengwe se se gopolang yaanong se se ka go etsang gore o batle go botsolotsa go tlhokafala ga batho bao? No.
Now, is there anything that would want you to question any death that occurred at Museo in the time that you were in the 10 years that you were?
Me go na le sengwe se se ka go etsang gore o batle go botsolotsa dintsho kapa go tlhokafala ga batho go diragetseng ko Mosego mo nakong e berekileng ko teng? No.
My lady, that concludes my cross-examination of the witness. This court pleases.
Thank you. If I may ask, regarding the document, that document that was requested yesterday, is there anything that has the document been uploaded? The document that was requested by Ms. Asim, Ms. Marriott?
My lady, I have not received any notification of documents being uploaded on case lines. I do not know whether Advocate Asim received the documents that she requested.
Can we get any indication? Because once I excuse the witness, then it means we must recall her with regard to that aspect. Ms. Asim, you didn't receive anything as I hear from Ms. Marriott?
I have not received anything, my lady.
Mr. Profi?
My lady, I had requested the document that was made available to me was in respect of the date dispute. However, the evidence leader asked them to send an email in respect of the documents they require, and then the scope of the requirement then extended to the medical records of all 23 deceased, and archives have to be requested to retrieve.
Are you still waiting?
To retrieve all that information. So given the large amount, it has to be determined whether the document they've asked for is at Mustafa Home. But in respect of the two that came up in cross-examination, the one has been sourced and I await instruction on the duty roster. But the third one might be with difficulty.
Ms. Marriott?
My lady, I would submit that Maletsatsi Elizabeth Mukoya can also testify pertaining to those documents.
So
I don't know whether
we can excuse this witness.
Yes.
Thank you, Mrs. Mohosinyan. Thank you for your patience. Please take care of yourself and be healthy as you grow older and older. Thank you for your evidence. Ne? Thank you, you are excused.
Hello, Mama Hosinyane, Barawi Tokomele, Yakanzo Pola, or Pelesente, or Seto Feliciano.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I see it's about 3 minutes to 1 o'clock. I don't know. Obviously, we don't have any other witness for the day today.
No, my lady, I don't know whether the court wished to adjourn until Thursday for Dr. Tala's evidence to be finalized.
Before that, I would like us to discuss, the witness can be excused, it's fine. I wanted to deal with the issue of the doodle. Since I received it, I've never had the opportunity to look at it. We can quickly look at it and then so that I can be able to make a directive regarding the next sitting. Just bear with me.
My lady, the doodle is on the screen.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes I struggle to see this, but just see if I can. Yeah. Can we quickly look at this? This is now from the 18th of July.
Yes, my lady.
I trust that this was completed by all of you.
My lady, I don't see any entries pertaining to Mrs. Foster. There's and also okay, Beauty Kekana and Neil Wesselo is also open, but they are present during the proceeding.
Yes. Yes, just assist me. The first week, that is the week of the 18th of July, I see the majority will be present. Am I correct?
My lady, I agree. It's just indicated Advocate van Bergen, Foster, and Advocate Profi is not available.
Only those three?
Yes.
Advocate Foster, van Bergen. Do you confirm, Mr. van Bergen? Yes, I see.
Yes, my lady. I have a Health Professions Council inquiry in that week, and it's an inquiry which has been
Yes, I know about that, but yeah, we also need to finish this now.
Yes.
I see you are only three. I don't know. Can't you rope in your attorney to stand in for you?
My lady, much would depend on which witnesses are going to testify at that stage. Although I have full confidence in my attorney's abilities,
yes, but it's
I
only
must
for that.
look
Are
after.
you going to be occupied for the whole week?
No, my lady, it is set down for 2 days. So,
okay. So we can utilize this week, I think. Let me see. Miss Foster, are you there?
As the court pleases, my lady. Yes, I'm present.
Profi, I've noted you. Yes.
My lady, I'm also available that 18th of July, but I would please request the court not to determine any dates on my behalf. I will fit in with whatever date the court decides.
Yes, but we can't wait for you. This thing, I asked it for 2 weeks ago. You haven't completed.
My
In
lady,
fact, I shouldn't even be asking you. I should just impose. Because everyone has completed this, you haven't.
I cannot get access to it, my lady. I'm technologically incapable of accessing it.
So the court is asking you, now you are saying you are asking the court not to impose for you, but I'm trying to give you
no, that's not what I'm saying, my lady. I'm saying that I will go with any dates that the court set down. I will make myself available. That was what I was saying.
Now you're talking. Thank you.
The court does not need to take my schedule into account.
Okay, thank you. Let me, Mr. Profi, I saw you were raising your hand.
My lady, given my junior status, it's always been my intention never to interrupt this court in respect of the dates and to work myself around it. My only difficulties in respect of the 20th to the 22nd is that is a part heard that has now moved 3 times to accommodate the matter.
Which date? The 20th?
20th, 22nd, and the 20th to the 22nd, the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The matter is now moved 3 times to accommodate this matter, and it's going to be with great difficulty to try and move it for the 4th time again.
Yes, but my concern is I don't know what will be happening this time. And I see, because when we agree on dates, I also check as to the number of counsel who are not present during that week. And I see the number, if it's only 3, then I'll have to take this week. So you'll have to ask maybe somebody, your attorney, to stand in for you if you don't have anybody to assist you.
I'm in the court's hand. I was just indicating.
This is the first week of term. That is the week of the 17th of July. And then I'm going to move to the 2nd week. This one is Mr. Pinar, Mr. Foster, Miss Foster, Mahlapi and Ramaimela 3, then Mr. Shabangu 4, and then Mr. Manamela 5. Well, Beauty Kekana and Mr. And here I see I've counted 5 of them. I don't know whether they haven't completed or what is happening. Can I hear from them as to their availability? If they are there, Mr. Manamel, I know he's not with us.
The lady?
Yes.
I think there was a mistake in completing the doodle form. Either one of us, Ms. Maklape or myself, will be available.
Thank you. Then this reduces the number to 4. Yes. Anybody else? Mr. Pinar, do you confirm your non-availability, Ms. Foster and Mr. Shavangu?
May it please the court, my lady. Yes, I confirm, my lady.
You are not available.
As the court pleases, my lady.
Okay. We've got 4 here. Okay, can we go to the next one? I'll decide on this one later. Can we go to the next week? I see the 1st of August. It's only Miss Foster, Miss Sewoko. Only those 2. Am I correct? This is now the 3rd week, starting from the 1st of August. If you are quiet, I'm going to accept that silence means consent. Then this week, I think we'll sit. I've confirmed the first and the second, the third week so far.
My lady, if I may interrupt.
Yes.
I thought Ms. Foster would go first because she's my senior. I confirm now my availability for that week as well.
Okay, I think she also confirmed. Am I correct?
Thank you very much. That week of the 1st of August is perfect.
Okay, so we're taking this week, thank you. The 4th week starting from the 8th, am I correct?
Yes, my lady. There's a public holiday on the 9th of August.
Yes, that's fine. Can we look at that week?
Advocate Pinar, Maite, Shabangu, and Manamela indicate they're not available, my lady.
Just bear with me for a second. Yes, we're talking about, is it the 4th term now? The 4th week of the 3rd term, ne? Starting from the 8th of August.
Yes, my lady.
Just a second. We can check, I see the 9th, it's on which day? The 9th is it's a Tuesday. So
yes, my lady.
We can check as to whether we will, you said how many people, what will, it's 1, 2, 3, 4,
Well,
5.
unfortunately, I'm also not available that week.
Just a second, Miss.
Okay.
This is the 4th week. Mr. Pinar, Miss Foster, Miss Maite, Mr. Shavangu for 5. Can I just leave this week for now? I'll come back to it. This is now the 2nd week and the 4th week. I've not decided on them. Then I move to the 5th week, which is now the 15th of August. Miss Foster, can
Advocate Foster, my lady.
Maite, just a second,
Sheila.
please. Can you just bear with me? Shabangu. No,
My lady is available.
Shabangu is available, and I see it's Pitlela. Mr. Pitlela?
Yes, my lady, I'm required to do some performance assessments on that week pertaining to my current position. So
yeah, we need to come to an end of this matter. I see, and I see Mr. Pitlela. My problem is that he is representing this many NGOs, and I see it's only 3 council who are not available on this during this week. This is now week 5. Just leave it for now, and then go to the 6th week, the 22nd. If I may, Nelisiwe?
Yes, Judge.
Are you there? If you can stop the proceedings. Before you do that, these proceedings are adjourned to Thursday. What is the date for Thursday? Is the 19th.
Yes, Judge.
Yes, my lady.
Proceedings are therefore adjourned to Thursday, the 19th of May 2022 for the further cross-examination of Dr. Atalatala. And then we have now converted this into a case management meeting. You can just stop the recording, please.
May it please the court, my lady.
Thank you. I was on the 6th week. Mr. Van Bergen, Ms. Foster. These are the only two people here. Do you still confirm that you will not be available, Mr. Van Bergen and Ms. Foster?
Yes, my lady. I have a civil trial that's been set down for 3 weeks. If I were to take a chance, the last week, the 8th week, we may finish within 2 weeks. But the first 2 weeks, the 6th and 7th weeks, are not going to be available.
Okay. We must also take note of the fact that not everybody will be accommodated in this. Otherwise, if we don't try to be available to finalize this matter, it will never be finalized.
Yes, my lady. My apologies, my lady. I may mention that the 5th week, the 15th, I also had an HPCSA hearing, which I moved. So I have been trying to make myself available where I could reasonably do so.
Okay. No, that's fine. It will also depend as to what we will be doing during that week. I see it's only the two of you. You can just ask someone to stand in for you.
I will be available, my lady.
Okay. The 6th week, I think we can utilize that. Then I move to the 7th week, starting from the 29th of August. Mr. Pinar, Mr. Van Bergen again, Ms. Foster, 3, Mr. Shabangu, 4, and Mr. Manamela. This is 5 people. Yes, this one we can just put a question mark there. And then this was now the 7th week, then the 8th week. This is the week of the 5th of September. Mr. Van Bergen, Ms. Foster, it's only the two of you. I think we can utilize this week. And the 9th week, which is from the 12th of September. One, Ms. Foster, Ms. Seboko, 2, Mr. Pihlela, 3. I think here it's only 3 people. Yeah. Yes, the 9th week, I think we must utilize that week. Mr. Pihlela? I see somebody who's that. 1, 2, 3. It's only the 3 of you. Yes. Can't you compromise in this week, Mr. Pihlela?
Yes, Valeria. I was just thinking that maybe if I get another week, like I see there are a few weeks that have not been accounted for. I'll just try and shuffle things around and see if whatever I need to do on that day can be moved, can be done earlier.
Okay.
whether it's an
In
opening.
the issue of assessments, can they be done earlier?
Unfortunately, my lady, it depends on whether there's an opening earlier than that, because already it's all hands on board. So,
all right, what we can do for now, can we take this last week? Then I'm going to go back. So we're going to utilize the 9th week, and then I think I've left the 2nd week, the 4th week, the 5th week, 2nd, 4th, 5th.
And 7, my lady.
Yes, I'm there. Don't worry. I've made my notes here, Miss. Perhaps you are in a hurry. I'm also thinking as I'm doing this, Miss Meredith. Thank you for assisting. Perhaps because the 4th week, that week we are having a holiday in that week. Let me see how many people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perhaps we should just not utilize this week, the 4th week. Is that fine? I'm also trying to accommodate those who are having problems. The 4th week, it's out. I'm going to take it out.
May it please the court, my lady.
And then now the 5th week and the 7th week. 5th, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Between the 5th week and the 7th week, one can fall off, but we must retain one. Mr. Pichela, is this the week which you say you will be busy with assessments?
yes, my lady. But since the 4th week is out,
you can try to
move things to that week, my lady.
Okay, so we can utilize the 5th week.
Yes, my lady. Yes,
anybody having a problem with this week before I close it? I'm going to, can we utilize the 5th week? And perhaps because the 7th week is a number of people, then we can just not utilize the 7th week. Just to recap, I've just correct me. I've indicated that we will utilize before I go there. What did I say about the 2nd week? Is it still a question mark?
Nothing yet, my lady.
Okay, can we look at, let me first look at how many weeks we're not going to utilize. Is the 7th week and the 4th week, am I correct?
That's great, yes, my lady.
Yes, the 2nd week, Mr. Pinar, Mr. Foster, Miss Foster, Shabangu. Manamela, you are always not available. I just saw you now joining the meeting. Can we utilize the 2nd week? I'm worried if we're not going to utilize a lot of weeks. 3 weeks, it's a lot. I see Mr. Pinar. Yes?
I see Mr. Pinar. He's indicated that he's not definitely not available. And the other two, Ms. Shabangu is for Mrs. Niatlu.
Yes.
Who's for
I think
CCRC.
it's one, just a second. 1, 2, 3, 4 people. No, it's fine. Let's just leave it. I think it's 4 of them. I thought it was 3. Thank you. So let me just note these dates. This is 18 July 25. the first. So just to confirm, we're utilizing the first week, the third, the fifth, sixth, 8 and 9. Am I correct?
May it please the court, my lady.
Yes, my lady. Second week, second, fourth, and seventh week, we're not utilizing.
Correct, my lady.
May it please the court, my lady.
Thank you very much. I'll issue a directive in this regard. The proceedings are therefore adjourned until Thursday. Thank you. Thank you very much. You are all excused.
As it pleases your ladyship.
Pleases, my lady.
As it
As
the court pleases, my lady.
May it please the court, my lady.
As please the court, my lady.